All right, good morning again. One request is all of us, we are few in numbers still. um, 9, I mean 10:45, still we are few in numbers. So I request all of you to worship, be ready to worship individually, right? Whichever language you are comfortable, whichever way you are comfortable, please worship. Only request, be allowed. When you are worshiping, others should know that somebody is worshiping, so that you can wait for the other person to finish and then continue. All right. All right, the theme is Jesus my friend. That is what Imi introduced as the theme, right? Our God is a God of relationships. You agree? Back in the day, with Adam and Eve, before sin entered, right? We see that he walked with them in the cool of the day. Can you imagine that? I can't even imagine that, right? That much was our God, who wanted to relate with us. In fact, we were created so that we can relate with him. Since sin became a barrier, that's why this whole plan of salvation, so that we can relate. In Bible, God relates with us as Father, right? He puts the Spirit of the Son in us, so that the Spirit calls out, Abba, Father, is what we read. And that's a very dear relationship. He relates with us as Mother as well, right? As a mother comforts her child, I will comfort you, and very many other verses are there. And this unique relationship with that Jesus brings to the table is, Jesus is our friend. Can you imagine a God, a big, omnipotent, omnipresent, omniscient God calling simple people, sinners like us, as a friend, right? So that is what we are going to worship, right? And this is not something new to all of us who are saved in the Lord would have experienced, are still experience Jesus as our friend. True? I'm not going to introduce you to this concept or anything. And I want you to go back in time in your own life where you had Jesus. You're all listening? Where, when you were down at some moment, this Jesus, the friend, came and encouraged you and uplifted you. You remember those moments? I want you to recollect that and thank God and worship Him for that alone. Very simple. Your understanding, you want me to repeat? Some point in life, this Jesus, your friend, was with you. He encouraged you. He didn't leave you. He uplifted you from whichever sad state of affair you were. I want you to recollect that and worship this God. We'll read John chapter 15, verses 13 to 15. John chapter 15, verses 13 to 15. By the by, I didn't know this theme. I picked last week itself and shared to the singing team and other things. I didn't know today is Friendship Day. Trust me, I didn't plan for it. Okay. Anyway, greater love has, verse 13 from 15th chapter. Greater love has no one than this, that someone lay down his life for his friends. You are my friends if you do what I command you. No longer do I call you servants, for the servant does not know what his master is doing. But I have called you friends, for all that I have heard from my Father I have made known to you. There is loads of theology in it, but that is not the point for this morning, right? This is just a reminder for us that Jesus is our friend, right? Verse 13, greater love has no one than this. And by the way, Jesus is telling this to disciples in that upper room just before Good Friday, just before he is going to get crucified. The night before that, he is talking to his disciples on that upper room. This is that wonderful discourse, John 13 onwards, right? In that he is talking. This is that famous John chapter 15, where I am the vine, you have to abide in me, is what is the overall theme and context. In that he is saying, Greater love has no one than this, that someone lay down his life for his friends, right? What is the greatest form of love? Greatest form of love is something sacrificial. Let's recollect some of our friends in this world. Ready? Who's ready to give life? Even spouse, I doubt. Let's not go there. Okay. It will create a lot of debate. Shabina is forcing Frankie to raise his hand. Let's ignore that. Nobody. Forget life. Is there any relationship? Okay, forget blood relationship and all that. Any other friendly relationship where they don't explicitly or implicitly expect any benefit? There is something there, right? At least emotionally, there is an expectation. Hey, I do this, you do good to me, kind of thing. But this is a highest form of love, a sacrificial love. He gave his life for you and me to become friends. You understand that? So, shouldn't we be grateful for that? So, let's be grateful for that. Second verse 14, you are my friends if you do what I command you. Which friend tells like this? Hey, I'll be friends with you, but you have to obey my commandments. Who will tell that? Nobody will tell that, right? You won't then accept that person as a friend. Now we have to understand this. In uh, in kingdoms, where king used to be there, and then all these other people will be there. Who do you think is the intimate person to the king? So maybe king had queens. They are all just status symbols or for the external world to see. I mean, maybe one here and there were this Taj Mahal, what is that person? Shah Jahan and Mumtaz and all those people were there. One here and there. But otherwise, they were all just formalities for the sake of king and queen. And then he had these ministers. They're all very diplomatic, politicians. There is no intimacy. And you know what? There seems to be these slaves in these kingdoms, in those palaces, who worked for the king. There were slaves who know what is the king's food preference. Even queen didn't know. There were what is the emotions he is going through, what help he needs, what service he needs at what time. All that those slaves used to know, it seems. So, in terms of relationships, those slaves were much closer, much intimate to the king than the official formal relationships back in the time. In that context is what Jesus is, in that meaning is what this is saying. And this is the true context, right? Jesus is who? Yes, he's our friend, but he's also that king. He's that all-powerful, all-knowing, omniscient God who is saying, I'll be your friend. You understand the magnanimity of that God? And the command he is saying here is just be in touch with me. That is the command in that chapter. Abide in me is what he is saying. Nothing big. Imagine, right, one big celebrity, Modi, our prime minister, calls and says, hey, I'm your friend. Just be in touch with me. Isn't that a privilege in itself? As an example. Verse 15, no longer do I call you servants, for the servant does not know what his master is doing, but I have called you friends. For all that I have heard from my Father, I have made known to you. Gracious and merciful God is what comes to my mind when I read this. He doesn't have to do that. He doesn't have to do that, but then graciously and mercifully, he has allowed it. Dear friends, I just don't want to keep preaching. Take this time to worship him, right? A friend who gave his life for you. An epitome of sacrificial love. And a king who is our friend. And a gracious and merciful friend, right? Only friend who will never leave us. Only friend who is not going to forsake us. Only friend who is always present for you. Some of our best friends, you all had best friends in colleges and school and everything, no? Most of you don't even know where they are now. Either you left them or they left you, because we have to move on in life. But this friend is there for you. Whether you get old, whether you are young, whether you are in deathbed, that friend is there for you. A friend who is always willing to hear you. A friend who is always willing to listen to your stories. Is there anybody nowadays having time to listen to you? Everybody is busy. One. Second, none of you wants to share also. Anyway, this is a friend who's there to hear, who showers that unconditional love, who has that endless patience with you, who comforts you when you most need him, who really knows you. Even you don't know you. He knows you better than you know you. That is the friend we have, my dear friends. Shall we close our eyes? Shall we bow our heads? And shall we thank this friend who has been there for us when we needed him. Whenever we needed him, he was there for us. He didn't leave us. He didn't go. There were times when we left him. Probably this time we can ask some sorry also to him. We were unfaithful, but then he was faithful. A faithful friend. A friend who did not expect any benefit, who gave his life for you and me. Shall we worship him? The time is open. I'll be quiet now. You, one by one, please raise your voice. Pour out your heart. Pour out your love for him.